who do you think, if you had to guess, is the most famous or infamous Wisconsinite? WTMJ talk and text line is 855-616-1620. Shoot us over who you think is the most famous. And do you have any personal connections to anyone who's famous, Dan?
I guess a small personal connection.
Okay.
So I went to Pewaukee High School, and so the most famous graduate of Pewaukee High School is, of course, not me, but J.J. Watt and the Watt family.
Not you.
Not me. Yeah. So I was a senior when J.J. Watt was a freshman at my high school. So I do have that connection there. I didn't really know him at all. He was like the good athlete who was a freshman. There was like always
he just
like
massive,
the one good athlete.
Even as a freshman?
See, the thing was, I don't think anybody really saw this coming. It was like he went to play college football in Michigan, I think, and it was like he was always, on track to do something in basketball or football or whatever. But I think people were a little surprised when he became J.J. Watt, and became like one of the greatest defensive players in NFL history. So I think that was a little bit of a surprise for people. I also knew Joe Thomas, who was also an NFL player.
Okay.
I went to the same church as him. And with Joe Thomas, there was no doubt. He was going to be a professional athlete in whatever he wanted to be a professional athlete in. He was terrific at everything. With JJ, it was a little bit more of a surprise. Again, I was a couple years older, so I didn't really know him that well. But yeah, that is the famous connection from my neck of the woods in Wisconsin.
All right. Our family's famous connection was my dad was a basketball coach at Edgewood High School in Madison, and he cut Chris Farley from the basketball team.
Cut him from the team.
Big surprise. Chris Farley, not a good basketball player. Not good at running. Then my dad said
he's got some physicality, though. Maybe grab a couple rebounds, be like a Charles Barkley type guy.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
And so that story was always really funny. But I think that's one of the few. And so we asked this because the Journal-Sentinel used data. Because how do you measure fame? How do you measure who is the most famous? And so they went to Wikipedia. So there's more than 10,000 individuals who have some kind of association with Wisconsin. And in order to measure their popularity, 4 different journalists from the Journal-Sentinel used Wikipedia page view data over the last 5 years to approximate public interest for each individual. And so I think that timeline potentially skews the data.
Creates a little bit of recency bias, perhaps.
Because I want to build the tension as far as who is by far and away the most famous / infamous on this list. But it has to do with a certain, there was a little pop culture around this person recently. So one more chance to text in your guess. WTMJ talk and text line 855-616-1620. If you have a guess for who the most popular, or at least with the most page views on Wikipedia, Wisconsinite is, we would love to hear from you. Or if you have a personal connection to someone who is from Wisconsin and is also a celebrity. But not only did they look into overall the most famous, they went into each county. So if you would like to see who is the most famous person from your county or any of the 72 counties in Wisconsin, text famous to the WTMJ talk and text line 855-616-1620, and we'll shoot you over the article so you can look at the interactive map and click on it and see who the most famous person is from your part of the state, which I thought that's a lot of work.
That is a lot of work. All 72 counties got somebody famous from them, right? So,
someone. Like
I was saying before, J.J. Watt was from Waukesha County, most famous person from Waukesha County, where I grew up. I mentioned before the break that he went to school in Michigan. He, of course, did go to UW-Madison, but he went to Central Michigan first, left, and then walked on to UW-Madison. Just wanted to correct that before we get to
clarification.
Clarification there before we get to the rest of the list.
So by far and away, a couple people on the text line did guess this correctly, but the answer is Dahmer is by far and away the person with the most page views on Wikipedia. It's not even close. And then obviously I think it's because of the Netflix film.
I was going to say, I wonder if that has anything to do with a recent certain Netflix program that may have influenced these results to some degree.
But from 2019 to 2023, it was 1.3 million page views for Jeffrey Dahmer on Wikipedia. And as far as famous actors go, we have a couple. Willem Dafoe, Mark Ruffalo, Chris Farley. Willem Dafoe from Appleton is the highest ranked celebrity actor, we'll say, as coming in at number 3.
UW Milwaukee grad, Willem Dafoe. And he just got his, I think he and Mark Ruffalo both recently got their star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame.
That is true. And Mark Ruffalo is also on the list. He's just above Chris Farley. And I said to you at the break, it's inspiring to me that he has had such a lasting impression because he's been gone for a while now, and that people still love him and we claim him so hard in Wisconsin.
People were just celebrating his birthday on social media not too long ago, saying that he would have turned 60 this month, I believe. And yeah, I'm a big SNL fan, and I think he is maybe my favorite all-time cast member on SNL, Chris Farley. I gotta go with a little Wisconsin bias there, right?
Little Wisconsin bias, but he was also incredibly, incredibly talented. And so this is a really fun article. Whenever you can use data to use things to prove things like this as far as most famous, but also, do we like the fact that when you travel and people say Wisconsin, or more specifically, they say Milwaukee, and people say, oh, Jeffrey Dahmer. It's not the best thing to have that be the correlation.
Yeah, it's not great. It's not great. We're not on the map for maybe the best reason in that sense. But, there are so many positive examples of famous people from Milwaukee, too. Gene Wilder was on the list. Gene Wilder's from Milwaukee as well. Maybe we can just claim him as our number 1 most famous person.
Stacey Abrams was born here. That's one that I always forget. Yeah. It's funny, the ones that just because they were born here, they then have an association, even though they didn't necessarily grow up here. Like Colin Kaepernick, born in Wisconsin, but I always forget that that's a connection because I don't think that's very part of his story.
It's a small part of his story, but it doesn't seem like the main. He's from, born in Milwaukee, grew up in, I think, a few years in Fond du Lac as well, too. Yeah.